you may not have really thought about it before. But what makes an election? Well, we have candidates, that's for sure. We also have people who are going to vote for those candidates. And the final piece is that we have some kind of ballot, a process for those people to vote for the candidates. Now, the type of ballot that you've probably seen the most is a single choice ballot. And in that, regardless of how many candidates there are, what you do is you pick your favorite and you select them and just that one person. Now, there's another type of ballot that's starting to gain some momentum in the public eye right now. It's called a preference ballot. Now, a preference ballot allows you to rank order all of the candidates from your most favorite to your least favorite. So this is the type of ballot that we're going to be looking at for the most part, because the single choice ballots are pretty straightforward. The person who has the most votes wins. But when we have a preference ballot, then we have something to work with and we have more that we can explore. And there's multiple ways to decide who should win an election. So we're going to be dealing with preference ballots. This is what a bunch of preference ballots all put together might look like. So an individual preference ballot would just be one like this one right here. And that's what you would collect as a preference ballot. Now, it's difficult to work with the ballots when you have a whole bunch of ballots separate like this. So what we're going to do is put together what's called a preference schedule. So in a preference schedule, what we do is we identify a first place, a second place, a third place, and a fourth place. In this case, there's 4 places in my election for candidates to fall in. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to take one of the ballots. I'll take this first one right here, and I'm going to list out who's in first place, who's in second place, who's in third place, and who's in fourth place on that ballot. And I'll put that entry in my preference schedule. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many ballots look exactly like that one. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 ballots look exactly like that. So I'm going to put an entry of 14 above that ballot. Then I'm going to move on to a ballot that was not one of those. So I'll move on to this next one right here. And I write down the order that the candidates appear on that one. So I have B, D, C, A. And now I do the same thing. This is one ballot that looks like that. Here's 2, 3, 4, and that's all of them. So I'll have a 4 as my entry in my preference schedule there. Then I move on to another ballot that doesn't look like either of those. So I'm moving on to this one. And I write down the order of the candidates on that one. So I have C, B, D, A. And I count up how many look like that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there are 11 that look like that. And for my preference schedule, then I go to the next ballot that doesn't look like either of them, and I put the candidates in order that they're on that one. So I have D, C, B, and A, and I count those up. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there are 8 that look like that. And that's the end of my preference schedule. So now I don't have to look at all of the individual ballots anymore. I can just look at the preference schedule that gives me a summary of how everyone voted. So we're going to be using preference schedules throughout this material to work with elections. So inevitably, ties are going to arise when we have elections. And there are times that it's not important for us to be able to break a tie. For example, 2 albums can win title Album of the Year at the Grammys. However, when we're trying to choose someone for a single political office, for example, president, we can't have 2 presidents of the United States. So, whenever we have a situation where there must be a single winner, we have to anticipate the possibility of a tie and have a process in place by which that tie will be broken. That's just a little bit of an idea of how elections are even more complicated than what we're going to discuss during this class. So in this class, we're going to be focused on how do we determine the winner?